It is Victory Monday for the Miami Dolphins. I don't care how you feel about this football team. Beating the New York Jets is always going to put a smile onto my face. And if you are with me and are excited about that win in Week 14, hit that thumbs up icon. All right, I am Nic Rohloff. This is Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. On today's show, we are going to do an Overreaction Monday styled video. We will have a video out later today with the latest news and rumors as well, so make sure you subscribe and tune in for that. But the first overreaction I have from Week 14 is that Mike McDaniel needs to be fired. And remember, if we go from a scale of 0 to 4, and we're going to put this scale at a 2, which means there is some likelihood or some belief here. Listen, it's hard to do this off of a win. I get it. But if we're going to be honest, you are at home against a 3-9 New York Jets team who have been absolutely abysmal all year long. They're a disaster. They fired their head coach middle of the season. They got rid of their GM in the middle of the season. And you are coming off of a mini bye. What do I mean by that? Well, you played last Thursday on Thanksgiving, which means you had more days to prepare for the New York Jets than they did for you as they played last Sunday. So to me, the fact that this game went to overtime, the fact that the Dolphins actually needed a 52-yard field goal as time basically expired to send it to overtime, just tells me this team was not well prepared for a bad New York Jets team. And that is concerning to me. And we well know and have documented the struggles of Mike McDaniel to beat good football teams in big games, a la the Green Bay Packers on Thanksgiving. And then you factor in the fact that the New York Jets are missing 3 of their most important players. Sauce Gardner did not play. Breece Hall did not play. Linebacker C.J. Mosley did not play. And you start to put more pieces together here. It's just like, well, you had more days to prepare. You have the better team at home against a team missing 3 key starters, and you had to come from behind to barely send this game to overtime, and you're lucky you won the coin flip, because who knows that if the Packers got the ball first, we might be having a different conversation about how that game played out yesterday. So to me, it's still a little bit more concerning. And listen, I think Mike McDaniel's a great guy. I think he's a great offensive mind. But I don't think he is the right man to lead the Miami Dolphins into the battle that is required to win big games in December and in January. I just simply don't. And a win against the New York Jets will not change that. I'm sorry. I had this thought coming after the game against the Green Bay Packers, because we've just seen it too often and too consistently that the Miami Dolphins lose big games against good teams that are above 500, and they especially do it on the road when the weather turns to below freezing. Like, it's concerning. And then the fact that you barely beat the Jets, like, I'm being dead serious. A lot of people agree with me on Twitter, and I'm not saying that's because I'm in the right here, but it's just something that kind of inspired this thought from me as well. It's like, if you lose that game to the Jets, like, why shouldn't have he been fired today? Like, it's clear to me that he is declining as this head coach. And I know Zach Sealer said that he had maybe his best team meeting that he's ever seen with Mike McDaniel this past week. It's still concerning to me that it was a very tough game against the New York Jets coming off of a mini bye. But what do you think? Do you think Mike McDaniel is the right coach for Miami? Type Y for yes or type N for no. Let me know if you think McDaniel is the right guy at the helm for the Miami Dolphins. Overreaction number 2, this Miami Dolphins defense needs an absolute overhaul in the offseason. This is for Fins. This needs to happen. This is not something that I am willing to even hear a counterpoint, an argument to. This defense needs to absolutely be changed. They are Charmin ultra soft. I have never seen a defense so soft in my entire life. Between some of the soft coverage they play, the lack of ability to go up and make a tackle in the open field. I mean, the amount of times that I'm seeing this cornerback room and safety room feel like avoid trying to make a tackle, it's sickening. It's abysmal. They missed 20 tackles against the Green Bay Packers. It allowed Green Bay to add another 160 yards to their offensive total. Well, did they get any better off of a mini bye after Jordan Brooks called them out for being soft? No. I mean, they missed 11 tackles. So is it as bad as 20? No, but it's also impossible to miss more tackles than they did against the Green Bay Packers. Once again, being in the double digits is not good. There's just too many soft players on this Miami Dolphins defense, and it starts in the secondary. It starts at the linebacker. Like, you can argue some of the defensive linemen as well, but, like, I want to point this out. Like, I saw Javon Holland run into a blocker more times than I should when trying to tackle in the open field. And there's just one play that sticks out to my mind from yesterday as well when rewatching the game. There was a bubble screen to the right side. There's two defenders over there. There's Jalen Ramsey and there's Javon Holland. There's one blocker, one catcher. So there's one guy that has to get the ball carrier, one guy that's probably going to get blocked. Javon Holland runs to the blocker. Meanwhile, Javon Holland's in the slot, Jalen Ramsey's on the outside. So what happens? Javon Holland runs into the blocker, which means the wide receiver, Garrett Wilson, just cuts back into the middle field where Holland just was, and it's a 8-9 yard pickup. Look, what is Javon Holland doing? Keep contained. There's two of you out there, one blocker. If you keep the contain, you keep inside, Ramsey takes outside, it's only likely it's a 2-3 yard gain rather than 9-10 yards. Like Javon Holland, I don't know what's going on with him, but he plays a bad brand of football. And then you mix in the fact that these four players that are in your linebacker room, in your secondary, they don't tackle. It just adds more fuel to the fire that is this soft Dolphins defense. Anthony Walker Jr. out of this four, and this is not the top four or bottom four. Like, I'm just picking out some guys that are key players. 54.8 tackling grade against the Jets, one missed tackle. Javon Holland, 39.7, one missed tackle. Jordan Brooks, who actually was the highest graded defender for the Miami Dolphins yesterday, did not tackle well, though. 3 missed tackles, 36.1 grade. And then Kader Kohou, which we're going to have more of a conversation on him in just a second. But he missed a tackle and had a 35.9 tackling grade. Kader Kohou has been absolutely atrocious tackling. And it's just always been that way with Kader. He's undersized nickel corner, which is why I think maybe they need to go in a different direction for that position going forward. All right, we're going to have more to talk about here on today's video, but we are sponsored by Game Time, the #1 ticketing app out there. And if you want to go watch any live sporting event, comedy show, concert, Game Time is the best place to get your tickets. Only one home game remains for the Miami Dolphins coming in Week 16 against the 49ers, but with the Florida Panthers in state, the Miami Heat, maybe you want to watch the Marlins when they come back around in March. Maybe not, but either way, any local event in your area that has purchasing tickets, Game Time will be the best place to get them, whether it is one of those comedy shows or concert. And when you use Game Time Picks, it filters out the fluff to show you the incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They also have another great feature, all-in pricing. It shows you the total price of your ticket up front so you don't get blindsided by fees at checkout. I use Game Time to go watch every sporting event that I go to and live event, and you can get $20 off your first purchase when you download the app, create an account, and use code CHATSPORTS. Terms apply, first purchase only, but use code CHATSPORTS to get $20 off your first purchase. Shout out to Game Time. What time is it? It is game time. All right, so I said that the Dolphins need to completely overhaul the defense. Well, what does that look like? Well, here are some of my key keep guys and key lose guys. Jordan Brooks signed a 3-year deal in the offseason, so he's going to be back for the next 2 seasons. I think that's a good thing. Jordan Brooks, at worst, is a good linebacker, too. Low end, maybe LB1. Jordan Brooks has been outstanding this year. You signed Jalen Ramsey to a long-term extension. I would keep him. He's been good in coverage this year, and he's one of your rare tackling corners as well. Same thing with Kendall Fuller. Fuller's not afraid to get in the mix and get physical on the outside. I think you have a really solid start to that secondary in terms of rebuilding it next season with Ramsey and Fuller on the outside, but I do think you need to get better at the safety spot and in the nickel. Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, both going to be free agents. I'm letting both of them walk without hesitation. Kader Kohou in the slot as well, I think should be replaced. Now, Kohou excels at being athletic, agile, which is needed to be a nickel corner, but he is so undersized that he just simply can't come up and make tackles when it's required to in the run game as well as the pass game. So I'm looking elsewhere there. And then Anthony Walker Jr., I'm fine with him being like a sub linebacker in obvious passing situations, but him being a consistent linebacker to try to stop the run and make tackles on first, second down and in short yard situations, that can't happen. So I'm letting him go. And you just need more physical players at these 3 positions: linebacker, safety, and the nickel. It's hard to say defensive line because I like Calais Campbell. I like Zach Sealer with Bradley Chubb returning soon, hopefully next week. We'll talk more about that throughout this week. Also having Chop Robinson, who's been great. Jalen Phillips returned. Like, I think your defensive front for the most part is good. I'd like to see them add a legit nose tackle potentially in the draft. But LB2 next to Jordan Brooks. Safety position, both starting spots, and the nickel corner absolutely need new players in those positions next year, and preferably ones that are willing to tackle and be more physical presences, so you don't have to have this soft mantra on defense for another season. All right, we're going to finish out the video here in just a second, but thank you for helping us cross 65,000 subscribers. We got there on our Sunday watch party. We actually almost got halfway to 66,000. We post daily content here, sometimes 2 videos a day, short-form content live on Tuesdays as well as game days. So make sure you hit that sub button, join us because we have the best coverage. All right, I will say this before we move into the last overreaction. I don't know if Chris Grier is going to be the GM for this team. Do I want him to be the GM? No. Will he? Probably. But whoever is making those decisions, this is a very important NFL draft. And you can say the NFL draft is important every single year. You would be right in that diagnosis. But the true moral of the story is here, you're not going to have a lot of cap space. You're going to have anywhere between $20 and probably $40 million in cap space with contract restructures and extensions, which means you aren't going to have that much money to change the entire roster. And you're going to need to sign offensive guards and offensive linemen on the interior, which means you are going to have to use your draft picks to find impact players at the positions of need that we mentioned: safety, corner, and linebacker. We'll see who is making the decisions, but this is as important as an NFL draft as I can remember in Miami, because you are in a win-now mode with the contracts you've given out to Ramsey, Tua, and Tyreek Hill, space there, Jalen Waddle. Like, these type of guys are in win-now modes, so you need to make these draft picks count and add good young players that are affordable to this roster. All right, last piece of Overreaction Monday is that Terron Armstead is going to retire after the season. We said it in the offseason, but we maybe thought things could change, but it seems very likely to me that he is going to retire. I am going to give it 4 fins. I think it is going to happen. It's very unfortunate. It's very sad. Many people thought he was going to retire last season, came back for 1 more year. I feel for him, man. He has been absolutely outstanding for the Miami Dolphins this season. Like, legitimately top 3, top 5 offensive tackle in all of football this year, and he's been battling injuries. He was questionable for the game against the Patriots. He played. Questionable for the game against the Packers. He played. Questionable for this game against the New York Jets. He started, but then left after, I think, 6 or 7 snaps, and you see him on the bench. Like, a lot of beat reporters in building were tweeting about how Armstead was defeated on the sideline, talking with other veterans, towel on his head, and you see this photo perfectly kind of encapsulate that. On the bench by himself, sitting down, the sad look on his face. It sucks. Armstead's been a great player, great leader, great guy in this locker room ever since coming to the Miami Dolphins to be that left tackle, and he's had an outstanding year in 2024. 2nd overall graded offensive tackle from Pro Football Focus. And you see the pass blocking grades, you see the run blocking grades, only 1 sack all year, only 1 penalty all year. It is going to be a tough loss for him, or in Miami specifically, if he's out for an extended period of time. And it stinks that his career might end due to injury, because he was having one of his best seasons in his long career. But that is why you drafted Patrick Paul in the 2nd round of the 2024 NFL Draft. And he came in and played 67 snaps for the Miami Dolphins yesterday. Grades are up and down. Was decent in pass block, kind of mid in run blocking, allowed 2 pressures, was called for an illegal motion, or I think it was an illegal formation, where they called him a little bit too off the line. I actually think it was a bad call, but not like a holding or hands to the face or anything like that. But he was fine. I really did. I'm not going to come out here and tell you that, oh, wow, the Dolphins have some all-pro left tackle or Pro Bowl left tackle blossoming because of how he played against the New York Jets, but I do think he was serviceable. I do think he is still going to grow, and someone who played a lot of left tackle at Houston, I think, is going to maybe get some valuable reps down here in the last 4 games of the season if Terron Armstead is out, and then be the projected starting left tackle for the Miami Dolphins all off season long. You drafted him in the top 55 for a reason, and that is why he is going to be used for the rest of the year. What is your confidence level in the rookie Patrick Paul? Let me know. Scale it 1 to 10 for me down in the comments section. Let me know what you guys think on Patrick Paul. To round out today's show, I mentioned it. You drafted Paul for a reason. There was a reason why he was drafted in the top 55 in that second round of this past April's draft. I know a lot of people at the time were not happy with the selection because you're like, why did you draft someone that isn't going to play in a win now mode that is this season? Well, aren't you glad you did it now? Because imagine if you did draft someone else on the offensive line or defensive line. Like, sure, maybe they would have impacted the season more this year, but it's unlikely that it would have really changed your entire outlook of the season based off the Tua injury and how other pieces have not fared out well. So to me, it ended up being a good pick from Greer. Even if he misses, at least you have a future at a plan at left tackle for Paul. And he got a full season basically to learn behind one of the best left tackles in all football. I think it was a good move, and I only think it will help Paul benefit in the future of his career. All right, let's round out the show for real this time with the remaining schedule of the Miami Dolphins. You are 6-7, 4 games remaining. If you go 4-0 in the final 4 games, you're 10-7, and heck, you might make the postseason. It's not going to be the easiest schedule, even though it is among one of the easiest in the NFL. You go to Houston this week, then you return back home against San Francisco before going on the road for Cleveland and New York. I mean, you barely beat the Jets at home, so that's going to be concerning. Cleveland's playing better football in that environment. It's going to be tough. These 2 games are the keys, man. I tell you what, I think Miami can win at home against San Francisco. This is the most important game. This week against the Texans, if you can go to Houston and get a win, I might believe that they really will go 3-0 down the final 3 games and finish the year 10-7. But make sure you are subscribed to the channel because we'll have a video later today on the latest news surrounding this football team, as well as having you covered leading up to this Week 15 game against the Houston Texans. Hit that sub button because we're dropping daily content here at Dolphins Today.